Good afternoon, everyone from Dunrovin Ranch. Lots of things have been happening at the nest with our two chicks, and I thought that since so many of you have not seen chicks at this age before, I put together a digital Zoom video of a fish that was delivered at the nest this morning, and typifies many of the things that happen at the nest during this time when the chicks are so small. So I'm going to go ahead and play that video and just point out a few things that I think people will be interested in. So with that, I'll just start this video. And of course, it doesn't have any sound. You know, all of this reminds me of the Joni Mitchell song that was popular in the 70s, where there's a line that says, "You don't know what you've got till it's gone." And believe me, I didn't know what fun we had with a great Zoom camera and audio until it's gone. I really miss it, and I know all of you do as well. So anyway, here is a video of a fish delivery this morning. And as you see, it came headless. Clearly, Swoop had eaten the head before he brought it to the nest, but he brought it straight away. It's a nice big fish. And I can't tell you how important it is that their fish be plentiful at this time during the maturation of the little chicks. So it looks like one of the chicks is recognizing that food is to be had, and they're both starting to wake up. You can see their little heads there bobbing along. And watch as Swoop was cleaning his beak. That's a very common occurrence, to clean their beak and their talons after catching fish. You see them do that a lot. Clearly, Harriet's hungry. She's going right for it. And the chicks are not yet up asking for food, but they're getting there. And I also want you to notice how they're not really in very good control of their bodies yet. This is the bobblehead stage, where they can't quite keep everything together. And I don't know if others have noticed this, but it looks like we have one chick that's fairly aggressive. It's the chick on the left there. It seems like he wants to peck at his sibling. I notice it later when she starts feeding them as well. It's a little concerning to me, frankly, because I'm afraid that this third egg will hatch with a chick that will be greatly disadvantaged by being so much smaller than the other two. And if we have a really aggressive chick among the first two, that's going to bode not well for the third chick. The eggs were laid 3 days apart, and these two chicks hatched within 24 hours of one another. So they're fairly comparable in size. But now watch this one to the left. It seems to me, well, it gets fed, but then it wants to bother its sibling. I've got my eye on the chat, so if anybody wants to chime in, I'd sure like to hear from you. There you can see the one I was talking about just got a bite. And there he goes. He's kind of bothering its neighbor right there. You can see I think it's an aggressive chick. Yeah, I don't like the bonking either, Celia. I don't like to see this kind of competition this early. It really concerns me for chick number 3 when it hatches, because just a couple days behind really makes a difference. And if you've got a chick who's well fed and still into harassing its siblings, that doesn't bode well. Look at how uncontrollable they are. The one chick just fell over on its back. Just a few days between hatching can make a huge difference at this stage. Now, if the third chick hatches and survives the first month, generally they go on to survive. And sometimes those third chicks can be really feisty and clever about getting fed. She feeds whichever mouth is presented to her. She doesn't go looking for each chick. She's not making sure that they all got fed. She'll just keep feeding until there is no mouth that wants food. So the third chick will have a good chance as long as there's lots of food being brought to the nest, where the older, more aggressive ones get well satiated and fall over asleep, and then it's the third chick's turn to get fed. But we've all seen what happens in the past when you've got a really aggressive chicks, and then the smaller chick just, oftentimes can't survive. This is very common among raptors, and it's common among birds that have what's called food insecurity. They are never sure where their next meal is coming from. And so biologists feel that evolution has set this up because it's better to have one really good healthy chick than 3 chicks that are not healthy. So if there's only so much food to go around, it's better to give it to one and make that chick really strong and healthy and increase its chance of survival than having 2 or 3 chicks that are not so healthy. It's hard to watch, though. It can be. But you can see that chick is definitely up front, and the other chick is lagging behind. Now, it will get enough food. There's plenty of food to go around, and that's what's so important. The male plays such an important role in all of this. His ability to catch fish is just really paramount. The one behind is not getting as much, but still getting quite a bit. It'll do fine. I think with the 2 of them, there'll be no problem that they'll survive, but I'm worried when the third one comes, it's going to have a real disadvantage. And yet we've had years where all 3 chicks were really cooperative and did not compete. Even when they were hungry, they just lined up and took what they could get. But you'll see throughout this that it's really the chick's duty to put itself in the position of getting fed. Harriet is a very experienced mother and really knows how to do this. Now, what's interesting to me is the first and second eggs were laid 3 days apart, and yet they hatched within the same 24-hour period. And I didn't notice that Harriet did what's called delayed incubation, in which she doesn't sit on the first egg as much to kind of hold it from developing. But she must have done something like that to time the hatch of these chicks. Hang on for a moment. I'll be right back.
Sorry, they've been going on.
That's all right.
Hey, I'm gonna let the windows dry and we'll come back this evening and put them in. Just hope it rains.
That's
And then
great.
tomorrow we'll come back and do the second coat.
Thank you.
Otherwise, it's looking pretty good.
Good.
Hardware and stuff. Is there somebody coming in soon
Well, in the weekend.
on the weekend?
Yeah.
On this Saturday?
Yeah.
Okay, Then I'll kind of let them dry, and then I'll come back and put the hardware on,
Okay,
and, because that won't take long.
all right.
Okay.
Mark, thanks so much.
Okay.
I appreciate it.
Okay, no
Got your
problem.
whole family there, thanks.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay, now what you're seeing is also very typical. Swoop has come back. He's still hungry. He didn't have a very big meal, so he came back for the fish and he took it off to his perch to eat. And watch how she cleans her nest. She finds little bits and pieces and feeds them to the chick. She's very careful about cleaning her nest. It doesn't take much to fill them at this stage. Are you noticing all the sparrows going in and out of the nest underneath her? They've got their own chicks to feed in there. I'm not sure how many chicks Harriet has had since we've been here, but it's got to be 12 to 15. I do know that Rob Dominich one time told me that our nest was one of the most productive in Western Montana. Harriet is a very successful breeding osprey mother. She knows her business and she picks good mates too. All three mates that we've seen her have been just excellent. Good fishermen, good at defending. It's just a real partnership that these pairs of osprey have. They can't do it alone. Okay, so she's settled down now. And you may have noticed that she keeps her weight up just a little bit now. She's both incubating an egg and sheltering two chicks, so she can't just sit right down on the eggs like she used to. Yes, Celia, when we say the most successfulness, we've seen more banded birds return from Dunrovin than any of the other nests in Western Montana. So not only does she produce a lot of chicks, but the chicks she produces survive. It's really important. That first year is just really high mortality for osprey chicks. You think about it, they launch themselves off during fall migration, never having migrated anywhere, never having fed themselves, and fly all the way down to the Gulf of Mexico and teach themselves to catch fish, and somehow they know where to go and where to stay, and they come back. It's just such a wonderful mystery. You can see the pin feathers starting to collect in the nest. You know, the chicks are losing a pin feather here and there. You'll see more of that at times. The nest will look like it's got snow from the pin feathers that the chicks start dropping. About an hour later, Swoop returns to the nest with the remains of the fish. Again, this is very common that he would take the fish away and eat some of it, but he always brings it back. And she's ready to feed again. There she is. Unfortunately, we can't hear her, but she's calling and telling him, come on, bring the fish back. We're not finished eating here. Those of us who've watched her for a long time can almost hear it in our ears just from memory, watching her with her mouth open chirping. We know what that sounds like, but I can't wait to get the audio back. So here he comes, and he's eaten, you know, a substantial amount, but that was a big fish. There's still plenty to go around. And again, he's cleaning his beak. Very common behavior. You can see what a huge amount of work is involved on the part of this pair to produce these chicks and actually take them to the point where they fledge. It takes all summer and total dedication. There she is, she's feeding them again. And they're not all that hungry. She's kind of pushing it on them. I'd sure like to see that third egg hatch today. I just don't want these two to get too far ahead of the last chick. I sense these are a competitive pair. Or at least one of them is. You can see the one chick isn't even interested enough to get up and turn towards the food. It's probably still digesting what it had before. Yes, Celia points out that oftentimes the third chick, because it has to be very sly to get fed, is feisty and clever. You know, they'll hide behind the mother's legs or something of that nature. They'll see where the two older ones are going to position themselves and position themselves in a completely different place. And sometimes that works really well. Other times, if you've got a really aggressive, larger chick, they're just relentless. That's where the whole term pecking order comes from, where the older chicks peck at and can kill the younger chicks if the younger chick doesn't get enough food to be really strong. But we've seen some chicks get battered around here and survive just fine. Every year it's different. I think it also depends somewhat on the gender. Female ospreys are larger than male ospreys. And so I think that has an impact also in their personalities. I think the females may be a little more aggressive. Okay, I appreciate you signing in, and I really enjoyed showing this to you. I'll keep this up until we get our uh, good camera back up there and show some digital zoom videos. You can see quite a bit better with the digital zoom. The clarity is not wonderful because it is a digital zoom, but it's better than not seeing it at all. And I just want to thank you all for coming. And with that, I'll say goodbye. Bye.